All right, y'all, what's going on? Welcome to the Monday Night Live stream. We got the live Q&A. We're going to keep it light tonight, but we're going to talk about a lot of good stuff and chop up some good game tonight. Put a one in the chat if y'all can hear me clearly. All right. Hope everybody's been working on their tan this summer, soaking up as much sun as possible because, that at some point in time, sooner than later, we're going to get that season change up, right? So days are going to get shorter. Fall is going to start to set in. So really take advantage of the moment, right? Watermelon season is gonna start to phase out a little bit. The vibe is going to change up a little bit, right? So hope y'all been getting that in. I got a few things that I want to touch on and talk about today. And aside from that, I'm going to be getting to y'all questions as well. So we see some ones in the chat. Y'all can hear me clearly. Here we go. All right. I'm so excited to hear your wise words today. Actually, yeah. And I'm going to be talking to some of the issues that you brought up to me. Actually, I'm going to be talking about some of that stuff. I got some things to say tonight, some things that I want to touch on tonight that are going to be very important, pertinent to some folks in the audience here. All right. So we got a lot of return visitors. Good to see everybody in here. Mama Do, good to see you in here. Business as usual. Absolutely. Jay Short, what's going on? Welcome back to the stream. Let me know if you're back in the States and whatnot. You're feeling all right. And folks, hit that like button, like the stream if you like the stream. Right? I'm trying to really grow the channel. Right? Spread the word, spread the good word. Tell the other side of the ledger. There is a few things that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the practicality of raw veganism. I don't want to talk about the practicality of it and the reasons why. I'm going to do a separate standalone video talking about that as well. But I do not approach raw veganism from a dogmatic standpoint. I approach it from a pragmatic standpoint. It's not some fringe diet or thing, right? That's not what it is. It's actually a very normal, rational, logical thing to engage in, right? And I'm going to explain why. Because we got to change our thinking about how we consider certain, consider nutrition and things like that, right? Because this idea of like, you're going to be cooking several times a day and having leftovers that you got to stick back in the microwave and all of that is very impractical stuff. Okay. Where you're just going to have a bunch of stored food in the fridge that you're going to reheat in the microwave. Like human beings aren't supposed to have microwaves. Human beings aren't supposed to be having all of this cooked food and whatnot. Weren't really intended for that. The natural way that human beings are supposed to even get cooked food, come on. We have modern luxuries that allow us to do things that we wouldn't ordinarily do, right? But the fact of the matter is that human beings in a natural state of being, this frequency of cooked food is not really a thing. We're only able to do this because of the modern conveniences of technology, right? So first of all, yes, a raw vegan diet is going to be more convenient and way easier to do, especially if you're strapped for time, because it's more convenient. It's more of a rational, practical thing to do, right? Now, the practicality also ties into certain logistics, right? So no matter what chronic illness you have, either every single chronic illness is directly related to chronic dehydration, or almost every chronic illness is related to dehydration. Okay. But dehydration is the common theme when it comes to any type of chronic illness. I don't care if it's autoimmune disease. I don't care if it's high blood pressure. I don't care if it's high blood sugar, diabetes, obesity. It doesn't really matter what it is, right? Dehydration is always one of the cofactors, if not the primary one, right? It's important to understand that. because when we talk about a raw vegan diet, a raw vegan diet, particularly a fruitarian style diet, it's a really good way to prevent dehydration. Right? We talk about carbohydrates, and carbohydrates. Yes, carbohydrates are important for retaining your hydration levels. But the problem with cooked foods is cooked carbohydrates have to have water infused into them. Okay. If you're eating dry carbohydrates, it could actually really run your blood sugar up and run your blood pressure up. Okay. Which is a big reason too why like processed foods, processed carbohydrates are so problematic, because these are dry, dehydrated forms of carbohydrates, right? So biscuits, bread, cookies, things like this, right? Uh, well, these are dehydrating foods. This is the thing people really don't talk about enough. If you're going, your food should be water-rich foods. So this is also why I'm not like a big fan of like, all types of raw vegan foods where you're using a dehydrator for stuff, making, lentil bread and raw vegan bread. That's cool and all, but like these are dehydrated dry foods. I mean, even when it comes to like dates and raisins and things like that, or apricots, right? These dried fruits, these will run your blood sugar up if you're a diabetic, right? As a diabetic or a person who's pre-diabetic, it's not really a good idea to eat significant amounts of dry fruit, because those will elevate and sustain your blood sugar much higher than water-rich forms of fruits or carbohydrates, right? When I advocate for a high carbohydrate diet, or even cooked foods, whether it be sweet potato, lentils, beans, things like that, these are typically going to be in soups and stews, or it's going to be concentrated in one meal, typically in the evening at the end of your day. Okay. So soups and stews, because you got the broth and you got all the antioxidants from the broth and the vegetables and things like that. So you're getting your water infused in these foods, but that shouldn't necessarily be the bulk of your diet. Okay. But they are very beneficial in particular because they're very good for balancing your sodium levels, right? So, these cooked foods, your sweet potatoes, your cooked mushrooms and cabbage and things like that in a soup or a stew, well, you can get some sea salt in there. And that really helps to balance out your sodium level. So it's a good opportunity to really get that very important electrolyte that also helps you to keep hydrated, right? So one thing that raw vegans probably do is they undervalue the importance of sodium, right? So in that final meal of the day with those cooked foods, that's a good way to get. That's a good opportunity to get in the sodium, electrolytes, right? Fruit in particular, I'm a big advocate of fruit. It's not a gimmick, it's not a brand or anything necessarily. There's a very scientific explanation for why I'm such a big advocate of fruit consumption in the first place. It's the perfect carbohydrate. It's already water rich, it's already fiber rich, and it's already loaded with antioxidants and all types of compounds that protect your cells, and they're loaded with electrolytes. Electrolytes essentially are minerals with an electrical charge, known as alkalizing minerals, right? The primary ones being magnesium, potassium, and sodium. But then you also have iron and calcium and manganese and these types of things, right? So you actually have 5 alkalizing minerals, but the most common ones are going to be your magnesium, your potassium, and your sodium. As far as your electrolytes that provide you energy, these water soluble things that you can accumulate throughout the day, right, to stay hydrated. And the fruits give you enough of a blood sugar spike, and the blood sugar spikes actually is very important because they signal to your kidneys to retain electrolytes, so you have more energy and mental clarity over a longer period of time. So when people are like, oh man, I'm doing like all fruit and oh, I'm doing a high fruit diet and I have all of this energy and mental alertness and I feel so much better. Yeah, because basically you're carved up, you have an abundance of electrolytes, and you're hydrated, and you're feeding your gut bacteria all types of beneficial prebiotic fiber. Right? And you're also getting probiotics from your fruits and whatnot as well. So, I mean, it's as close to a perfect food as you can get, to be quite honest. And that's why you feel better, right? This affects your hair, skin, nails, muscle growth, fat metabolism, sleep quality, hormonal balance, so forth, so on. Right? Even when it comes to things like low testosterone, right? One of the best things that you can do if you have low testosterone is a raw diet. The reason why is because a raw diet, typically, if you're eating a raw diet, you're going to get way more vitamin K in your diet, specifically vitamin K1, which is a substrate for vitamin K2. So you get an abundance of vitamin K in your diet, and vitamin K is a precursor for testosterone production, right? Also, you're getting an abundance of carbohydrates, water, and glucose. When you keep your body hydrated, you have an abundance of electrolytes. The blood sugar spike and the glycogen stores being filled causes your body to synthesize more free testosterone. So if you're trying to build muscle, if you're trying to have more energy, if you're trying to have better thyroid and pituitary function, then this is a very big deal for you, right? So this is not a gimmicky woo-woo fad thing. There's a lot of science that supports this type of thing, right? And then when you're eating foods that have an abundance of, like, let's say tryptophan, like bananas and grapes and things like that, they have a high level of, magnesium, manganese, vitamin C, vitamin K, potassium, tryptophan, right, which is a precursor to serotonin, which improves brain chemistry, right? So your anxiety and depression just go away as you eat like this, and you accumulate resources the longer you eat that way. Right? So there's all of these benefits, and that's why it's practical. Right. So when people talk about it like it's this fad thing and you're going to be emaciated and skinny if you eat like that. First of all, I'm not emaciated and skinny. Clearly. I got my pigmentation. I got my tan. Right. I'm moisturized, building some muscle and all of that type of stuff. And y'all know what I eat because I'll show y'all my groceries and all of that type of stuff. Y'all are very familiar with what I eat. Y'all been tuning into my streams long enough. But anyways, I want to get to y'all questions, but I wanted to start off and talk about that. JD, what do you think about 3 42-hour fasts a week? It depends on what your goal is. I think that you can do that for 8 to 12 weeks for a quick detox and body fat drop. However, I wouldn't sustain that approach for a very prolonged period of time. Like, I would do it for like 12 weeks and back off. Fasting is very good, but the more aggressive the fasting is, the shorter time frame you have to do it for. So it depends on what your goal is in order for me to give you a definitive answer. But I think that's like the best answer I can give you at this point. Right. Well, you said you can't hear the music. Can y'all hear the music now? Can y'all hear my tunes? I don't want to blast y'all out and play it too loud. Well, that's your idea. There you go. Okay, yeah. So basically, if you're doing it as like a rapid weight loss strategy, you're going for a 50-pound weight loss. Yeah, if you have an aggressive weight loss goal, then yeah, that's a good strategy. Fasting is, if you're trying to lose as much weight as possible in the shortest period of time, fasting definitely is going to be like the number one thing that will get you there. Just understand it's very challenging. Okay. If you're doing 3 42-hour fasts, which, why 42 hours as opposed to 48? I'm just curious. Because 48 hours would basically be like 2 days. But you said 3 42-hour fasts a week. Do you mean 36-hour fasts? Yeah, I'd be curious why 42 hours. Oh, you lost 80 on OMAD. Gotcha. So you ain't playing with the weight loss. Gotcha. Also, one thing to be mindful of is this creating a soft landing. When you lose a lot of weight and you lose it quickly, create a soft landing so that when you come off of your aggressive weight loss strategy, you don't want, if you have a hard landing, you gain a lot of the weight back and it's jarring and it's discouraging, right? So if you lose 50 pounds and then gain back 10 pounds, don't freak out, right? Because when you rehydrate your body, some of the weight will come back. It shouldn't necessarily be 10 pounds that you get back, but like 4 or 5 pounds, maybe 10. It depends on how aggressive you went. But don't be too alarmed, right? Because if it's really like, if you wake up the next day after a full day of eating or whatever the case is, and you're like 4 or 5 pounds heavier, don't really freak out. Just make sure that you get acclimated and well adjusted to a more balanced approach to nutrition, because there will be a point where you do have to refill your nutrient stores. So the thing that allows us to fast is the fact that we store a lot of like our vitamins and minerals and whatnot inside of our bone marrow and organ tissues and things like that. And our body acts as like a reservoir where when there is no nutrients coming from food, our body can pull those nutrients from different areas in our body that it's stored in, right? But that's a finite resource. So just understand it does run out. And so when you press the fasting strategy too hard for too long, you do start to get hit and have some negative adverse reactions, right? So eating well and refilling those nutrient stores is extremely important. You don't want to develop too much of a deficit from pushing it too hard. All right. What's your thoughts on garlic and leafy greens? I haven't seen you use it. I just see you consume a lot of fruits. Yeah, so basically, yeah, I'm not drinking green juices. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not drinking green juices. I do eat leafy greens. Typically, like I just had a salad earlier today, actually. I had a salad and I had spring mix, diced onion, bell pepper, raw mushrooms, roasted cashews. What else did I have? 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast sprinkled over it, and spicy brown mustard and agave. So that was my salad. Okay. And I had a lot of it. Probably had like 6, maybe 8 cups of leafy greens in that thing. Had a lot of onion in there, definitely. But it was amazing. Whole cup of cashews. So like in one sitting, I got like 80 grams of fat or something like that. But I usually save my fat consumption for the end of the day. I don't really do it in the middle of the day. So it's usually with my last meal. And I finish eating about 4 hours or so before bed. So if I'm going to bed at 10, I finish eating at 6 or something like that. If I'm going to bed at 11, I finish eating at 7, that kind of thing. But yeah, garlic. So for example, when I make my red lentil veggie bouillon, big shout out to UD, I season that with garlic powder. So for like a whole cup of red lentils, I use like a whole teaspoon of garlic powder. I use 3/4 of a teaspoon of onion powder, a few pinches of black pepper. I use a whole teaspoon of thyme. What else do I use? I put like a 3/4 of a teaspoon of sea salt. I put like a little more than a half a teaspoon of raw sugar cane or brown sugar in there. I put a teaspoon of parsley in there. And I put like maybe a little less than a quarter teaspoon of cumin powder. and basically I throw the lentils and all the seasonings in the blender and I blend it up. And I add a little bit of water for consistency. So yeah, garlic is great. And then as far as minced garlic, like I would use minced garlic in like a salad or something like that, or some certain recipes. So yeah, I mean garlic is great. I don't eat a whole lot of garlic just because I don't want my breath kicking. So I'll eat garlic before bed, but not midday because then if I gotta keep my distance if I'm gonna be talking to anybody. Otherwise my breath kicking, blasting on folks. Let's see. I've been raw vegan for 2 months, and I just started weightlifting for about 3 weeks now, and I'm doing lightweight 30 pounds on the Smith machine. Not my lower back still hurts after any suggestions. Did you mean to say you hurt your lower back? On the Smith machine? It depends. So when did you hurt your lower back? You definitely, like within the first, I want to say week, 2 weeks, you may not really want to push it too much. You may want to ease off for a week or so and then start mobilizing it the second week. I wouldn't be going under any significant tensile loads. I'd probably be doing more body weight stuff, mobility. Mobility is really important. And then the thing is too, is that if you hurt your lower back, is it because of a muscular imbalance? A lot of the times when people hurt their lower back, it's because their glutes are weak. So you may want to change your workout routine where you focus more so on strengthening your glutes, your glute maximus, your glute medius, your hamstrings, and then stretching your hip flexors and maybe some plank positions to strengthen your abs and things like that. So working around the lower back issue. All right, so those are some suggestions there, but I would need a little bit more detail than that. Okay, Monday, Tuesday, I fast, eat Tuesday night, Wednesday, Thursday, eat, Thursday night, eat all day, all Friday, fast Saturday, Sunday, and eat Sunday night. Okay, got you. All right. It works. How to stay off the meat when you have to cook meat for your spouse. You don't have to cook meat for your spouse. So here's my thing. For me personally speaking, right? I would never ask my spouse to make me food that goes against their goals or their ethical values. Right? I wouldn't do that. If I want meat so bad, I make it myself. I don't care if I'm the breadwinner or not either. So even if I pay the bills, if I want meat, then I would be responsible for making it myself. That's my point of view on that. I may be a bit radical and biased, but that's my best take on that. Is it possible to be a raw vegan fruit-based bodybuilder without protein supplements? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. I wouldn't do it unless I had to. Like when you say, so for example, you can build muscle without using protein powder, and it's not particularly that difficult either. So for example, for me right now, currently, I need about 60 grams of protein a day if I'm trying to build muscle. So I need 60 grams of protein a day and at least 300 grams of carbs a day. The rule too is the less protein you consume, the more carbohydrates you would have to consume to make up the difference. Carbohydrates are protein sparing, which means the more carbohydrates you consume, the less protein breakdown you have, right? One thing about the scientific studies is, when people talk about you need a certain amount of protein in order to build muscle, it's like, well, first of all, you need a certain amount of protein in comparison to your carbohydrates and fats. They're not siloed, right? So nutrition is a zero-sum game, which means more of one thing is necessarily less of another. So if you increase your protein intake, your carbohydrate intake would necessarily decrease. If your carbohydrate intake increases, well, then you need less protein. Okay. And it's better to have less protein if your carbohydrates are higher, because if you consume real high protein and real high carbs, this can make you more insulin resistant, because protein becomes insulinogenic under a 4 hour delay. Meaning, if I have a lot of protein now, in about 3 to 4 hours, my blood sugar will be a lot more elevated than if my protein intake was lower. Okay. And so this is why you can have people who are full blown diabetic and they're like, I cut my carbs and for some reason my blood sugar is still real high. And it's like, yeah, because you're eating a ton of protein. Even like keto diet people, where keto diet people are like, I've been doing this keto diet, but like my blood sugar is still really elevated and I don't know why. And it's like, because they've been having high fat and high protein. And high fat and high protein will keep your blood sugar perpetually elevated, and it will actually make you more insulin resistant. A great example of this is a keto YouTuber named his name is Ken Berry, right? Where he's a big like keto / carnivore diet advocate. And one day he made the mistake of going over his blood test results on a live stream, and basically he looked pre-diabetic. He's not lean. He doesn't look particularly healthy. He has a lot of body fat to lose. And he's a big advocate of carnivore, and he's always demonizing carbs and all of that. But his dietary approach don't really seem to work very well, because he doesn't particularly look healthy, and he looks insulin resistant based on his numbers, and his cholesterol is ridiculously high and whatnot, right? So, but that's a pretty common thing, right? So basically, people overestimate the amount of protein they need. For me, on accident, I incidentally consume around 100 grams of protein a day. Incidentally, it's not deliberate. It's a thing that happens because I like to eat a lot of food, right? So, I'll wake up in the morning. What I've been doing lately, I'm not skipping breakfast no more. I feel amazing eating breakfast. I don't really skip breakfast, but like I usually don't really start eating very early. But now, usually when I wake up, I go and walk a few miles and work out, do my resistance training, and then have my first meal. I'm not doing that anymore, right? I wake up and I fresh out of bed, I'm just sucking down banana after banana after banana and eating like 6 to 8 bananas first thing in the morning. I feel great doing that. I actually like eating starting a lot earlier. And that's one thing that's actually helped me too in increasing strength and muscle mass and all of that type of stuff. So I've been able to put on some weight and some additional muscle mass and whatnot, and improve my training performance by starting to eat way earlier than I normally do with those bananas. So yeah, as far as bodybuilding is concerned though, fruit is a primary driver of muscle building. I've tried high protein, I've tried a lot of starches. The fruit makes the difference. It makes a crazy difference. Like a few hours after eating a meal, you look different. Like it happens very quickly. So yeah, basically, you don't need protein powders in order to build muscle on a fruitarian style diet, because fruit is like a primary driver. It's a superior muscle builder. You do need protein, just not that much. Again, I can build muscle on 60 grams of protein a day. I ate a whole cup of cashews with my salad. The cup of cashews alone is like 20 grams of protein. It's like 20, 24 grams of protein, something like that. All the leafy greens, that's another 4 or 5 grams of protein. The mushrooms, I had a lot of mushrooms. I had like 3 or 4 cups of mushrooms, chopped mushrooms. So that was like 10 grams of protein in the mushrooms. So, I mean, that salad in and of itself is like damn near 40 something grams of protein in the salad, right? My rolled oats, I do rolled oats. The cup of rolled oats is like 12, 14 grams of protein. I do a quarter cup of hemp seeds. The hemp seeds are like a quarter cup of hemp seeds is like 12 and a half grams of protein. So between the hemp seeds and the oats, That's another, I don't know, what, 24, 25 grams of protein right there. Then the plant-based milk, that's another, what, 8 grams of protein right there. So, I mean, the protein really adds up, right? And then I add powdered peanuts, that's another 8 grams. So it accumulates. And then the fruit you eat, like a whole cantaloupe or something like that, that's like 8, 10 grams of protein. All the fruit you eat contains protein. So you accumulate protein over a period of time. So, you can, if you're eating enough, you're going to get an abundance of protein in your diet, right? And you accumulate it over time. So there's people think that like there's no like protein and fruits and all of this type of stuff. I'm like, first of all, if that were true, you wouldn't have like gorillas be as strong as they are. Gorillas are like 9% body fat. They're way stronger than any human being you know. Now you can say, oh well, they're different because they're gorillas. I don't care what they are. But the thing is, basically, protein is needed in order for as the foundation for new cells. The saliva in your mouth, your gut lining, your muscle tissue, everything, all your enzymes, hormones, all this stuff is made out of protein. Any carbon-based being needs some protein in the diet. It's just the amount that people think they need is largely overstated. What you primarily need if you want to build muscle, you need a tremendous amount of energy. Energy, particularly oxygen, glucose, and electricity, which is conducted through minerals and water and things like that, right? That's why the electrolytes are so important. Electrolytes are conductors of electricity, minerals with an electrical charge, which is needed for the energy to produce thermogenesis, oxygen uptake, and protein synthesis, etc. Where am I at? See, I don't want to lose track here. I prep to come off the hard, fast, slow. There you go. Yeah, take your time with it. You're going to create a soft landing. Is there any space for cooked vegan foods? Yes. I don't swear off cooked foods. Right? I mean, look, I'm not going to swear off sweet potatoes or black beans or lentils I'm not going to swear off these things. You don't really need to eat cooked foods, but they are beneficial, right? You just don't need to eat that much cooked food. Does a raw vegan diet help with preventing cold sore outbreaks? Yes, actually. That's very interesting too, because actually you're more likely to get cold sore outbreaks when you eat more of a protein-rich diet with cooked foods because of the arginine. The more arginine you have, the more of a likelihood of you can having the more protein, methionine, sulfur, and whatnot, as well as the arginine, can increase the likelihood of an outbreak. So yeah, raw vegan diet helps with that. I heard the body can only process or digest 24 grams of protein at a time. Is this true? No. Your body will break down protein over a period of several hours, right? Typically, that process can happen anywhere in between 4 and 8 hours. For me, when I have big protein-rich meals, it's typically going to be one of them is going to be a high-protein meal in the beginning of the day and another one in the end of the day. And then everything in between is pretty low protein. So that's typically how I structure my diet as far as that's concerned. But I don't have just protein every day. No, I don't do that. But yeah, it's not 24 grams. Your body can metabolize and break down way more than 24 grams. Any suggestions to eliminate low back pain after Smith machine workout? I think if you're having like low back pain, which is a real issue for you, I think that there is, well, first of all, increasing your hip mobility. So stretching out your piriformis, stretching out your hip flexors, your psoas, and then basically all like your hip mobility exercises, and then strengthening your hamstrings and your glutes, and also stretching out your ankles. I think would really, because if there's a lot of tension on your lower back, it's because there's other muscle groups that lack strength and or mobility. And so that's what's causing you the lower back issues. Any limitations at the hips will result in lower back pain. Also, limitations at the hips or scapula, so like the thoracic spine and shoulder blades. So if you have a very weak upper back and poor thoracic extension at the spine, that can also result in more tension and compression of the lower back. Yes, it is some mobility and body hygiene stuff to work on. Let's see. I saw a guy on YouTube doing 30-day watermelon fast. Is that safe? Yeah, it's safe. Yeah, I would say so. But it depends on what your goal is, right? I mean, you can do that, but if they're just doing straight watermelon, chances are they're doing that for rapid weight loss, disease reversal, and detoxification. That's why they're doing it. What's my thoughts on cortisol? Lots of chat about high cortisol causing high blood sugar. Yes, that is true. Cortisol is basically, it's catabolic. It's not just catabolic to muscle tissue, but also catabolic to fat. So basically, muscle tissue will break down and the amino acids can get converted into glucose to gluconeogenesis, which contributes to an elevated blood sugar. And then your body then ramps up lipolysis, which is a breakdown of fat, and that can increase your blood sugar as well. Right? So yeah, cortisol, basically, elevated cortisol is a stress response, right? That puts you in a catabolic state. You want to lower cortisol. One of the best ways to do that is increase your fruit intake. So more electrolytes, more water, more fiber equals more oxygen uptake, and more glucose leads to less adrenal activation as far as cortisol output. And that over time helps to improve your blood sugar. Yeah, so if you're a diabetic, fruit should be a staple of your diet. It's a big deal. In a 500 milliliter beet smoothie, how much salt would you use? I mean, I don't know. 500 milliliter beet smoothie. Jesus. I don't know. Maybe like a quarter teaspoon. That may be I don't know. Maybe 2-3 pinches. I don't know. Somewhere around there, if I had to guess. A couple pinches. 2-3 pinches. Oh, I told my spouse I'd cook for him, but not me. I use beans as a sub. He loves the food. Oh, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. Oh. That's right. He don't need to, a man does not necessarily need to be obsessed with having meat in his mouth. I used to eat 8 or 10 dried figs for about 2 months and noticed that my lower leg started to swell with brown spots. Is there any foods that you recommend to help reverse swelling? Yeah, I mean, it depends on what the rest of your diet looks like, and if you have a food sensitivity to the figs. Yeah, the 8 to 10 dried figs. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I particularly wouldn't do that. Matter of fact, hold on one second. I gotta pull up. I'm gonna look something up right quick. Hold on. Let me go to Chronometer. I'm gonna look up something right here. Matter of fact, I should probably share this with y'all so y'all can see what I'm looking at. All right, so I'm in Chronometer right now. Let me look up dried figs. So I'm assuming it's so if it's 8 of them, that's not too crazy, right? 167 calories, 42 grams of carbs. That's not too bad. See, and then 10 figs is like 209 calories. So it's not crazy. It might be a food allergy that you have, maybe. So yeah, I mean, it could be that. You know what I'm curious about too? What is the A1? What is the glycemic? So GI index of dried figs. Let's see. Glycemic index of dried figs is 61. Okay, that's not too crazy. What's the glycemic load? What is the glycemic load? Glycemic load is 16. All right, it's not too crazy. Okay, so it's, I mean, I don't know. You might have a food sensitivity to it. Oh, hold on. What did I do just now? Come on. All right. So you might have like some type of food sensitivity to it, because if it's causing like swelling in your lower legs, I don't think that's going to be it. If it's a dried fig thing, chances are it's because you have a food sensitivity to it, or there's other things that are having a compounding effect that's causing that issue. So I would have to have a good bit more information from you about the issue to know what the deal is. By the way, let me plug this. Okay, hold on one second. I'm getting a lot of good questions here, and some people may need some additional support or advice. So, quick plug, in the link in the description of this video, if you go in the description of this video, I have a link to book a call with me. So basically it's my link tree, and you go there and there's different options. You can either book a call with me, you can join my 12-week mentorship, you can sign up for a custom diet plan, or you can sign up for a 12-week personalized coaching where you get diet and training plan and weekly coaching calls. Okay. Or you can sign up for my free newsletter, and through there you get updates for when I drop new content or do live streams like this one. All right. So definitely hit that link in the description if you need some additional help there. All right. So yeah, basically, I think it's good to have a food sensitivity test if you're getting, issues like that. And also, you may want to really assess how much fat and protein, or how much saturated fat and protein am I having in my diet? Because if you're experiencing swelling, like edema in the lower legs, you might have a uric acid issue. It depends. Like, is it swelling, numbness, and tingling? Is it just swelling? If you were to book a call with me, we can have a much longer conversation about this. I can give you a better answer, because there's some other things that I would need to know in order to know for sure. All right, let me get back on track here. Annie, here you go. Can you go over the benefits of chlorophyll water again? Yeah, so liquid chlorophyll, you mean, right? So liquid chlorophyll basically is plant blood, right? Our blood, the central molecule of it is iron, whereas plants, it's magnesium, right? Plant blood essentially is very healing for us in particular. This is why eating leafy greens is very medicinal. Eating fruits also with the chloroplasts, that chlorophyll, is also extremely healing and beneficial. So liquid chlorophyll has all types of benefits. I mean, it energizes your cells. It detoxifies your body. Basically, it helps your body extract toxins from your cells that are building up in your cells, and remove those toxins through your lymphatic system and your kidneys and whatnot, right? So yeah, that liquid chlorophyll, basically it's a detoxing, energizing supplement that also improves oxygen uptake. So this is also really good for people who have like pulmonary issues, dehydration issues, difficulty breathing, things like that, allergies, autoimmune issues, things like that. All right, so there's a lot of different benefits to it. If I eat high 350 to 400 grams of carbs a day, what is the max fat I can ingest without weight gain? Is there a max amount of carbs you can ingest before it turns into fat? This varies from, that's a very good question. This varies from person to person. So it depends on how much lean mass you have, like how much muscle mass you have, how active you are, and how insulin sensitive you are. So, and it also depends on how much protein you're consuming as well, right? A good rule of thumb, basically, if your carbohydrate intake is going to be really high like that, what is your goal behind doing it? And then how much of your macros is fat and how much is protein, right? So when you say 350 to 400 grams of carbs, keep in mind that 1 kilogram of skeletal muscle tissue can retain up to 15 grams of glucose, right? The average person has like around, what was it? It was either 12 or 20 kilograms of skeletal muscle on their body. It's like 40% of your lean mass. So you can take your lean mass, so basically your total body weight minus your body fat percentage, and 40% of that would be like skeletal muscle tissue. So you can get that in kilograms, and that's a way that you can calculate your total carbohydrate intake. And then you would have to factor in your resistance training and cardio and things like that. And then that would give you an idea of what your daily caloric burn would look like. Right. So there's a bit of math that goes into it. So for me to give you a more solid answer, I have to go into the math because it matters how old you are, pre-existing conditions, blood pressure, blood sugar, insulin sensitivity, activity in your lifestyle, body composition, how much body fat you have on you. There's a lot of factors in that. So there's going to be a fair bit of math, right? So I would say your carbohydrate intake, generally speaking, if your carbohydrates are going to be really high, like for example, if your carbohydrate intake is like 65% of your macros, protein should be like around 10, 12%. Fats should be around similar to protein, right? Somewhere around that 12, 15%, right? So you would toggle back and forth between, your fats would be a bit higher than your protein, but your carbohydrates are dominant. And then of course, carbohydrate intake can get upwards of like 80%. So this way you would get like 80% carbs, 10% fat, and 10% protein. So that's another way of breaking it down too. But it's very circumstantial. So, I mean, the answer is going to be a bit squishy because I don't know your body compositions or your lifestyle. How to reverse burning sensation issues in fingers of hands and feet with raw fruits only. Yeah. So burning sensation, I'm going to assume that that's gout, right? That's like a tremendous amount of uric acid being built up there. So you definitely, I think it's a good idea, first of all, to drink around 48 to 64 ounces of water. I would add lime juice. So like lime juice, I would add things like magnesium malate if you can get it. I would add like a tablespoon or two of liquid chlorophyll to my water on a daily basis. So definitely hydration. Uric acid and gout become a real problem when you're chronically dehydrated. So you can do it through fruits. You would just have to make sure that you're eating enough and you're staying hydrated, right? So on top of the fruits, your fruits should be very water-rich fruits. With a fairly low glycemic load in between 10, maybe 16. Glycemic index can be anywhere from 50 to like 80, right? I don't think that's like a huge deal if you're adequately hydrated. But the hydration definitely becomes an issue. So keeping your electrolytes up and that increased oxygen uptake and hydration would gradually reduce the uric acid, and you'd have those gout symptoms gradually going on. I'm very curious on how food can heal disease such as kidney cancer, etc., if that's possible. Yeah, so basically you have your body has like a state of being where is going to be catabolism or anabolism, right? So, for example, when you're burning body fat for energy, the fat is going through a catabolic state and being broken down. And then those fatty acids are being converted and used as a form of energy. You have catabolism of muscle, where that's being broken down, right? And so that muscle is being broken down into simpler forms of protein, amino acid, and then that can be used as a form of energy, right? Typically, this happens, that muscle breakdown happens when your glucose is depleted and your body is scavenging for energy. So your cortisol goes up, and then that's when you start getting into protein breakdown. This is also why I'm a big fan of training 20 to 30 minutes per training session, because if you train for too long, you go into a catabolic state, you start losing muscle tissue short term, right? Which can cut into your recovery. And the reason why I say that is because if, let's say, cancer, you can put cancer into a catabolic state, let's say tumors or something like that, and they can break down over time. So food can contain vital vitamins and minerals and antioxidants, right, that are protective of your vital organs, muscle tissue, bone tissue, that type of thing. When your food prioritizes protecting the vital infrastructure of your body, and all the resources get delegated to protecting your vital organs, your muscle tissue, your bone tissue, that type of thing, and it keeps those systems out of a catabolic state, well, this comes at the expense of things like cancer, right? So antioxidants have anti-cancer properties, right? Because these vital nutrients that protect your cells of your vital organs, well, then basically, if the cells of your vital organs, bones, and skeletal muscle tissue is protected, then they can be sustained and reinforced. And so all of the resources from your diet get delegated to that task, which means that there is nothing left over to feed cancer, for example. And this is how you can heal from that. So whether we're talking about fibroids, cysts, polyps, tumors, this type of thing, that's how it happens. Right? So when you improve insulin sensitivity, right, your blood sugar level comes down to a much healthier level, which means that there's not an excess of blood sugar for harmful growths to feed on to put them in an anabolic state, which if your resources are being robbed from your body's vital infrastructure to feed these harmful growths, then that can come at your expense. So it's a zero-sum game. So when you have your food is either healing you or killing you. So when you have foods loaded with antioxidants, water, fiber, probiotics, prebiotics, vitamins, and minerals, these foods that are more protective, this is what allows you to heal. All right. So it's basically a matter of leverage in keeping your vital organs in an anabolic state. And then, of course, when that is sustained, harmful growths go into apoptosis, they implode, and then your recovery follows suit. All right. Is leafy greens have protein issues, low albumin issues on? I don't understand the sentence. Is leafy greens have protein issues, low albumin issues, or raw fruits, please? You have a low albumin issue? Yeah, I mean, typically, if you're under eating and you do it over more of a prolonged period of time, you can result in having a low albumin issue. That is true. Leafy greens do have protein. I mean, leafy greens aren't like a high protein food, but they do contain protein. But if you are having an issue with low albumin, then chances are is that you haven't been getting an adequate enough protein over a very prolonged period of time. Right? So you would need to have a more balanced diet if that's the case. Thank you. I will challenge myself and stick to my fruits and vegetables. I just need to eat more. I'm not seeing muscle development like I should. I lift weights 5 days a week. Any suggestions? Yeah, so basically, you have to make sure that you're adequately feeding yourself. Number one, you have to make sure that you're eating enough. You have to make sure that you're sleeping enough. And then if you're training 5 days a week, you have to make sure that your recovery, because you can eat more, but if you're not sleeping, then you won't be recovering. And if you're training too much, you won't be recovering, right? So if you're trying to gain weight and improve muscle mass and things like that, you would either have to improve your recovery by eating more and sleeping more, or you would have to reduce your training volume. Right? And it is a good idea also to add in some extra foods like nuts and seeds. For example, adding in hemp seeds, adding in powdered peanuts, or adding in like overnight oats or things like that to give you like additional food sources, right? That would help also, right? So you don't need to swear off everything that isn't a fruit or a leafy vegetable, right? When I talk about a fruitarian approach, I just mean that fruit is the overwhelming majority of your food by weight, right? So I may be eating 5 or 6 pounds of a given fruit. I'm not eating 5 or 6 pounds of anything. I'm not eating 5 or 6 pounds of nuts. I'm not eating 5 or 6 pounds of leafy greens. I'm not eating 5 or 6 pounds of beans or anything, right? So by weight, the overwhelming majority of my food is going to be fruit. Fruit is the only thing that I eat where it's several pounds of food. Right. Cool. I've been suffering from anxiety and depression off of one bad moment in my life. I refuse to take medication. Could this diet help? So, nutrition is the substrate for healthy brain chemistry. So, if you have a water rich, magnesium rich, potassium rich diet, you're eating enough, you're keeping your glycogen stores full, that would definitely help. I think also getting more sun exposure. So getting at least 30 minutes to an hour of direct sun exposure per day while eating vitamin D rich foods like mushrooms and perhaps supplementing with vitamin D will also help, right? So yeah, the type of diet that I'm talking about would definitely help, right? Because it'll have you covered on improving your gut health, which is important for brain chemistry, mental wellness, right? Getting an adequate amount of magnesium in your diet, tryptophan, staying hydrated, all of these things help to improve your brain chemistry, but also that vitamin D. Because a lot of times when people are dealing with anxiety and depression, it's a lack of sun exposure. It's a vitamin D issue. Right? This is specifically important for my melanated family. All right, so black folks, y'all got to be outside. Y'all got to get that sun exposure. Y'all got to get outside. Y'all got to be working on that tan. You got that melanin, use it, lean into it. All right. Well, melanin is healing. Okay. Your body deploys melanin to heal. Melanin is protective. Okay. There is a thing called carotenoids. Carotenoids are antioxidants that help to preserve the pigmentation of your cells. So when you have darker eyes, this protects your eyes to preserve your eye health longer. When you have melanated skin, you keep the youth in your skin longer. When you have darker hair, more melanated hair, this causes you to have stronger hair, stronger proteins in your hair that causes your hair to be more curly, more kinky. Melanin is a superpower. Okay? When you get a cut to your skin, your body will rush melanin, right, to that area and help to heal that skin. This is the reason why you can get hyperpigmentation in a particular area if it is damaged, if the skin is damaged. Okay, melanin is healing, so leverage that. So I jacked myself up and got a hard set routine of not eating until maybe between 1 and 2 p.m. Oh, you put yourself at risk for under eating. Yeah. You under eat for far too long, you get worn out a little bit over time. It happens. Just got to get refed, take some days off, maybe even take a week off from training, or at least 3 days or so. Take midday naps wherever you can get them and just focus on your recovery. How do I get my protein? What do I eat? I mean, I eat like 15, 20 different types of foods a day, but I think the foods that make up the most of my protein is going to be things like my oats, my hemp seeds, my cashews, almonds, sunflower seed kernels. What else? Sometimes I eat lentils, right? I do my red lentil soup. And then the rest pretty much is oh yeah, powdered peanuts, pea protein isolate, right? That kind of thing. I like to put pea protein isolate in my overnight oats. So I do like an overnight oat pudding. So I soak my overnight oats in the fridge overnight, and I put it in the blender with like cacao powder and raw sugar cane and things like that, some sea salt, whatnot. And I'll put powdered peanuts and pea protein isolate in there, and I'll blend it up, and it makes like this. And I'll put the hemp seeds in there, and it makes this creamy, like beautiful chocolate oat pudding. It tastes like ice cream. It's phenomenal, right? So I do that, so I get protein from that as well. Some days as late as 3 or 4. Okay, I read that already. Oh, did I? Oh, started intermittent fasting 6 years ago. I don't get hungry until then. Hadn't been sure of what to actually eat. Recently, I've been trying to get me some fruit, maybe. Yeah. So basically, you don't have much of an appetite in the morning because you're adapted to not having an appetite in the morning. Like you're not gonna just have an appetite in the morning unless you start eating in the morning. So it's when you have to break the pattern. So you may not feel hungry when you wake up, but just start eating in the morning anyway, because you have to create a different pattern. Folks, hit the like button, like the stream if you like the stream. Like the stream if you like the stream. Drop kick the like button. Can baking soda water be an alternative for electrolytes? I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't drink baking soda. I wouldn't do that. No. There's much better ways to get your electrolytes, right? I would do it. I would do it through food. I would do it through coconut water or something like that. You get it through your food. I don't think we need to resort to baking soda water. About 10 or 11 unsuccessfully. Most days I get up between 5 and 6. Yeah, if you get up at 5 and 6 in the morning, you should start eating way earlier than 1 or 2. That's for sure. What do you think about when they say plant-based foods? A food that typically comes from plants. That's what I think about. So plant-based foods, I think about things like fruits, sweet potatoes, beans, things like that. Great answer. Give us the magic bullet to gain muscle. Yeah, there's no magic bullets necessarily. It's basically like there's a whole bunch of different things that you have to implement to build muscle. You have to have a solid training strategy. You have to be eating enough. You have to be getting to bed early enough. You need intelligent training design. And then you have to be mentally ready to be able to train to the best of your ability, right? And you really have to be in tune with your body and check in and be really consistent with your plan. So there's not really a magic bullet to building muscle, right? There's a whole bunch of magic bullets probably. What are your thoughts about eating tempeh? I see it in a lot of vegan bodybuilder diets. I don't remember the last time I've eaten tempeh. I don't particularly eat tempeh. I don't really eat much. I don't even eat much tofu anymore. I used to eat a lot of tofu when I first got on my vegan journey and whatnot. I don't really eat much tofu anymore. As a matter of fact, I don't remember the last time I've eaten tofu. What's the last time I ate tofu? You remember? Huh? Was it this month, last month? Or what would you say? It's been like a few months, right? I don't remember the last time I had tofu. Damn. Probably more than a year, you think? Yeah. It's, it's been a while. Yeah, you had tempeh. Yeah. So does dehydration cause rapid heart rate? Yes. So basically, if you're dehydrated, it depends. If you're dehydrated and you have like low electrolytes, let's say if you're dehydrated and your potassium is low, or if you're dehydrated and your sodium is low. So you could have like the heart palpitations. It could be because your blood pressure is high or because it's too low. A lot of the times, the heart palpitations come when your blood pressure is too low, right? And so your body will like boom, 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 right, to try to create more pressure and more circulation, right? And when you're more hydrated and you have more of your electrolytes, so you get some sodium in, you get the potassium and the magnesium in, and you get hydrated. That balances that out. Um, if I was dealing with dehydration issues, for me personally, a good mix would be I would do water with like 2 tablespoons of lemon or lime juice with 2 grams of magnesium malate. I would drink that, and you can add like a drop of liquid stevia to it, and that would be like lemonade, like a homemade lemonade. I would do that. So that's one thing I would do. Another thing I would do is I would do cucumber juice. I would juice a cucumber, like a large cucumber, and a grapefruit, and I would add a pinch of sea salt to it, and I would drink that juice down in the morning. That's another one I would do. What's another one? I think those are like the primary things that I would do. I would do. I would eat an ounce or 2 ounces of roasted nuts, either like roasted almonds or roasted almonds, roasted pumpkin seed kernels, or roasted sunflower seed kernels, but salted. So I would eat dry roasted, salted nuts or seeds. I would do that. Actually, you know what? You can get it in your salad. So you do the salad with the leafy greens and everything like that, and then you can have your pumpkin seed kernels dry roasted, and you can add some sea salt onto it. And then you can do that spicy brown mustard and agave thing as the salad dressing, or you can do like the sea salt and the lime juice on the salad. You can do that as well. But if I do the lime juice thing on the leafy greens, I'm probably going to add like fruit, so it'd be like grapes and things like that in there. Grapes, diced cucumber, etc. Salad with like roasted salted sunflower seed kernels. When you bring people on for coaching, do you ask to see our blood results from our doctor? Yeah, if you have it, yes. If we're trying to reverse a chronic illness or you have any kind of deficiencies, yes. Those insights are a big help to me because then I can see what the issue is. Like I look at people's blood test results and I mean I can pinpoint what the problem is most times. And the more data you have, the better because I can find like a common through line. And so each section of your blood test result kind of serves as confirmations. How do you feel about the high rep calisthenics they do in New York, where they do 500 to 1,000 push-ups, pull-ups, and dips and squats a few times a week? Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know what their workouts. Doing 1,000 push. I think if you're doing 1,000 push-ups, your workout's way too easy. with the way that I train, I can't imagine doing 500 of anything that I do. I couldn't imagine. That's why I use the resistance bands. If I didn't use the resistance bands, I would just be here all day. But no, so basically, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if they like doing that, then cool. I mean, it seems like a long workout. 500 of anything would be fairly long. And whatever exercise they're doing is really easy if they can do 500 to 1,000 reps. But if it works for them, I mean, great. I would never write a training plan though, where I would fix my face to be like, all right, cool. So today's workout, 1,000 squats, 500 push-ups. Then people will be like, yo, give me a refund. Like, give my money back. Yeah. Today's workout is going to be 1,000 push-ups and yo, no strength and conditioning coach is going to write a training plan like that. But the thing too, and I mean, all jokes aside, I mean, it could work. I personally wouldn't do it because I'd be concerned with overuse injuries. I would be concerned with the workout running for too long, and I just think it's suboptimal, right? Especially being like, if you're trying to build muscle mass, the hypertrophy range is 5 to 30 reps per set. 5 to 30 reps is like the typical hypertrophy range. So once we start getting into like the hundreds and thousands, the more of something you do, the less of a return you get, right? It's called diminishing returns, right? So like higher volumes could be good, but the more volume you add, once you pass a certain threshold, you get a limited return, right? It's like protein, right? Like upwards of 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of lean mass, according to the literature, is optimal for building muscle mass. But once you pass that 1.6 threshold, you get diminishing returns. Like it doesn't improve anything at all, right? And in fact, it actually becomes harmful beyond that point, right? So everything within reason, right? So there is a certain threshold where something could be great, and then as you go on, it's not really that beneficial. So that's my answer with that. Will figs help clean you out? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about figs. Figs kind of gross me out. This is a thing that you know what turned me off to figs? I saw this video of like figs eating insects. Is it like, is that the thing, right? Is it that like figs, like insects get trapped inside the figs, right? Yeah, and so I was like, I'm good because I don't want to bite into a fig and there's like insects in it or whatever. I don't want to do that. So that turned me off. I'm like, I don't. Are the weekly coaching calls one-on-ones for that? Yes. The weekly coaching calls are one-on-one. Are seedless grapes okay? Yes. Yes. So you can eat grapes with seeds or without seeds. Both are beneficial to human health. Let's see. Big shout out to Denise Stone. She letting y'all know. She said coaches consultation calls are the best. You get a full hour of focus on your questions, and he's very thorough. Calls are reasonably priced and highly recommended. There we go. And Denise has been a hardcore tribe member and a dedicated member of the community and is getting all kinds of gains. So big shout out to you. Absolutely. Miss Stone rocking it. By the way, technically, there is no such thing as a seedless fruit. You either have fruits with immature seeds or mature seeds. The mature seeds are the hard, crunchy seeds that you can really see, and then the immature seeds are usually like translucent or like very small white seeds. But all fruits have seeds. Pause, meat in your mouth, right? Yeah, pause and meat in your mouth. True. Yo, you from New York? Because that's a New York thing. Pause. Like, yo, he mad hard body. Pause. I'm about to get in your ass. Pause. I'm saving up for the coaching call right now. There you go. I'm looking forward to talking to you. Absolutely. All right, let's see. With high carbohydrate diet, so you recommend eating most of that with starchy vegetables or non-starchy vegetables? Typically non-starchy vegetables. Tender leafy greens. I mean, starchy foods are okay, but I wouldn't necessarily eat starchy foods as frequently and as much of it as I would with fruit. So I prefer the more water-rich stuff as opposed to starchy foods. All right, let's see. What are your main fat sources? Is it just nuts, seeds, and grains for you, or do you eat coconut or avocado too? I do eat coconut. I do eat avocado. I eat avocado more than coconut. But yeah, so mainly for me, it'll be things like avocado, nuts, and seeds. Yeah, those are my. I don't really have any other fat sources other than those. So yeah, nuts and seeds and avocado. Hello, new here, but just started my raw vegan journey today. There you go. Welcome aboard. Good to see you. Matter of fact, I think you dropped a comment on one of my videos talking about how you just started. You're feeling good so far. So welcome to the journey. Absolutely. Do you use sunblock outdoors? No. I use castor oil. So yeah, you could either use castor oil or shea butter or something like that. I'd rather use something natural. I'm not trying to be lathering up in all kind of chemicals and whatnot. So what I do is I do castor oil and like a few drops of like lavender or something like that. That's what I got on right now. That's probably why I look extra shiny. I look three-dimensional. My man James. Yeah, matter of fact, James, we got a call tomorrow, or is that Wednesday? So you up on the schedule. Get the next 3 weeks locked in. Raymond, thanks as always for sharing your time with us. Appreciate you. Have you had any clients with Lyme disease? Could you explain why it occurs if you know why? So Lyme disease is actually a thing that I haven't had much experience with. So my experience with Lyme disease is fairly limited. I don't know how much I could really say about it. I mean, people say they get Lyme disease from tick bites or whatever the case is, but you can get a tick bite and not get Lyme disease. Some people have gotten Lyme disease and they don't remember getting a tick bite. So I'm not particularly sure how random it is or not. I don't know. I would imagine that a diet that reduces any type of viral load or a diet that is conducive to combating autoimmune disease or anything like that would be beneficial to that issue, right? So if I had Lyme disease, I would be just straight up like almost like fully raw, if not completely fully raw. I don't think I've ever had someone where they've come to me with any type of chronic illness and we didn't make significant improvements. So that's what I would say about that. But I don't have any expertise in Lyme disease. I don't have that. Not too many people come to me with that. Let's see. Also, how long do you soak your kasha before consuming? Yeah, probably like 4 or 6 hours, something like that. Yeah, like 6 hours. So for example, if I know I'm gonna have kasha tomorrow, I would start soaking it tonight or tomorrow morning, and then have it in the evening or something like that. So yeah, like 4 or 6 hours or something like that. I err more on the side of 6 hours. Is it possible to get visible abs on this diet? Need to lose? Well, I have visible abs. Yeah. Is it possible to get visible abs on this diet? Need to lose my dad bod? Yeah, I'm telling you, if you can't, you know what's funny is that people will say like, "Oh, you're on a raw vegan diet, you're going to lose a tremendous amount of weight and be emaciated." And then people will also say, "You eat too much fruit, you're going to get fat, and it's going to be impossible to lose weight." People will deploy both of these claims simultaneously against raw vegan eating. It's hilarious. It's like, yo, y'all got to pick one. You can't deploy both. You can't say if you eat raw vegan fruitarian, you're going to be emaciated, but also fruit makes it impossible to lose fat because it's too much sugar. You got to pick one. Does it make you fat or does it cause you to lose a tremendous amount of weight? Which one is it? They just be on the internet just saying anything. I'll talk about like a raw. People will go in my comments with the way that I look. Talk about raw vegan diet. You're gonna be all scrawny and emaciated. I'm like, you can see me. Like, yo, I'm offended. Yo, my collarbones don't even show. What do you mean? My ribs don't show. My collarbones don't show. Like, I've had people accuse me of being on steroids, and I'm like, that's actually a compliment. I don't think you understand. Because when you tell a raw vegan they look the way they do because they're on steroids, I'm like, all right, well, damn, I'll take it. Okay. I don't think you understand what you're saying. You need more protein. I'm like, first of all, the whole country is on like a high protein diet and getting weaker and weaker every generation. So I don't think it's the protein. Your average man can't do like a clean 20 push-ups. All right. So, and eating a ton of like steak and beef and all types of meat and everything. Most of the men in the country, they can't go a single meal without eating meat and can't do a clean 20 push-ups and got moobs and stuff, right? Low testosterone, erectile dysfunction, all types of issues. Increasing your protein intake is not going to fix those issues. Right? So people just be on the internet just saying anything. And that's why, like, I don't really blame people. Like, I'm not gonna see somebody who has all these health issues and be like, "Oh, you were just being irresponsible." It's like, well, you're being lied to all the time about nutrition. The average person doesn't know what to eat because you got a whole bunch of people just getting on the internet. You got to have an all meat diet. That's our ancestral diet. I'm like, first of all, stop lying. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, let's stop. I'm like, your ancestral diet. Oh, I want all of these carnivore people to strip butt ass naked and live in the woods just eating animals and tell me how that works. Just stop. Stop. Talk about you a damn carnivore running around the grocery store with a shopping cart. Picking meat out of plastic containers, talking about you eat your ancestral diet. Like, stop. Yeah, I'm telling you right now, if somebody gave me a diet plan, it was like, all right, cool. So we're going to have 24 ounces of raw steak, sprinkle a little salt on it, and a stick of butter. I'm like, yo, give my money back. The hell, this is nasty. No, give my money back. Meal one, baby cow butt cheeks, butter, and a cup of milk. Oh, no, no. In electrolyte powders. Give me my money back. All right. I'm vegan and trying to eat fully raw. Do you think it's okay to get 25 to 30% of my calories for fat? I get steady gains of 3,500 calories, and it's hard for me to hit that without a little extra fat on raw. Oh yeah, 25 to 30% of dietary fat on a raw diet. Well, yeah, it's especially if you're trying to gain. Yeah, that's fine. If you're going to be fully raw, yeah. hmm do you feel apple cider vinegar is a good prebiotic, or do you recommend something else? I don't recommend apple cider vinegar as a prebiotic. No. It would be better if you were to do like sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, miso, um, coconut yogurt, almond yogurt, cashew yogurt, oat yogurt, things like that. Changed my work hours from nights to days after 8 years. And trust me, my eating schedule has been off, especially since I've been on a time restricted eating window, 8 hours for the past 4 years. Yeah. Let me tell you, that overnight stuff is wild. I couldn't do it. Let me tell you something. When I go on a streak of going to bed late, it messed me up bad. It messed me up. One of the best things that you can do is get to bed earlier. It's one of the best things that you can do. You want to build muscle. You want to get strong. You want to get lean. You want to have better mental health. You want to have better everything. You want to make more money. Go to bed earlier. I'm not exaggerating. I'm telling you right now. How much sodium should we be eating per day? It varies from person to person on your lifestyle. Generally speaking, as far as added sodium on my diet, probably a tablespoon. Not a tablespoon, a teaspoon. So like 4 grams. I typically don't exceed 4 grams. It's like 4 grams a day. But for me, with my training and everything like that, I could use extra sodium. Because more sodium, generally, I get better training performance. I keep seeing testimonials about celery juice. Is there something special about it, or is it just another good vegetable? Yeah, celery juice. I personally don't. I personally find celery to be nasty and distasteful and offensive. Um, but celery definitely is a major. It's really good for detoxifying your body. It's really good for kidney health. It's good for blood pressure. It's good for blood sugar. It's good for detoxing your body. So celery is actually really medicinal. Yeah. Appreciate the Tyler T coming through. Appreciate the wisdom always, brother. Well, I appreciate you for tuning in. Absolutely. Folks, hit the like button, like the stream to like the stream. So I'm trying to be better about repeating myself saying that. I get caught up. All right, I'm gonna do a few more here. Hold on, let's see. Danielle, what is the best fruit to fast on to rid bad breath? And for how long? Interesting. I'm probably gonna go with watermelon and grapes. But truth be told, I mean, really, what you got to do is adopt like a low protein, raw diet, limited in methionine, right? So lowering your methionine, basically. So keeping your protein, I wouldn't go more than 10 to 12% of the macros from protein. Also, no broccoli, no cabbage, tender leafy greens, okay? And chill out on the grains. All right. So yeah, basically like a fruit dominant diet. Also, liquid chlorophyll would really help as well. All right. Castor oil is great, just not for cigarette smokers. Well, cigarette smoking ain't good for cigarette smokers. Can quinoa cause bloating and inflammation? It could if you have a food sensitivity to it, or you just don't do good with starchy foods. So it could, yeah. Also it depends on how if you don't soak it, you don't cook it well enough. Yeah, there could be a variety of issues that cause that. Are you cool with, is that essential amino acids, EAA? Essential, am I cool with essential amino acids? You mean as a powder, like taking it as a supplement? I don't think that's necessary. I particularly wouldn't do that. I mean, you can. I wouldn't say it's the worst thing to do. I personally wouldn't do it. Loving Monday Live, so much health education. There you go, my man, Ricardo. Being a vegan, how often do you have to go shopping for food? Probably like twice a week or so. The ancestors ran through the forest for their meat. Well, whose ancestors? Whose ancestors was doing that? We need a Remsen comedy night. Yeah, yeah. I have my moments where I start cracking jokes. I don't want to crack on people too hard, but sometimes I can't help it. What's a good brand of sauerkraut? I don't have a favorite brand of sauerkraut. Generally speaking, it would be organic sauerkraut from the refrigerated aisle. That would be my main thing. Is this diet good for penile health? Yes. I kind of want to talk about penile health a little bit. I kind of do. Are people mature enough to have a whole stream dedicated to penis health? Is that YouTube might strike me for that? I don't know how people get weird about that. We start talking about penises for an hour straight. I don't know. That might be a banger. That's a good topic. But yes. Even in terms of like a lot of people, like I had somebody, I think they commented, they said, I have high testosterone, but erectile dysfunction. No, the issue is. And so basically erectile dysfunction is the canary in the coal mine for cardiovascular disease. Right. So so basically if this is like a persistent thing, if it's an on and off thing, it could be poor sleep quality, under recovery from training. It could just be you've been cutting your carbs for too long. So basically, erectile dysfunction can come from things like insulin resistance / diabetes, high blood pressure, atherosclerosis, endothelial damage, which is basically the inner layer that runs through your vascular system. So it could be a variety of different issues that I can dive a little deeper into about that. But yes, it's definitely a good topic. I heard cantaloupe microgreens are incredible if you want to use your extra seeds like that. Hold on, wait a minute. Cantaloupe microgreens? You mean sprouting the cantaloupe seeds? Is that what we're talking about? Oh, you remember me asking about what to do with them. Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna try to sprout cantaloupe seeds. I haven't even thought to do that, but that makes sense. I appreciate you bringing the idea to my attention. The matriarch of the tribe. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Definitely get a good night's rest. And I'll check in with you tomorrow. All right. Hello, Rebson. Do you drink any infusion like coffee or another? Greetings. Actually, I have tea. So I put in this thing here, this tea steeper. I have one teaspoon of holy basil and 1 teaspoon of cilantro, whole tea leaves. So that's the tea that I was drinking here. We need more penile health tips. It's important for a man's confidence. True. I feel good waking up with some I feel weird though getting up in the morning. because it's like, you wake up and it's like, yo, damn, chill. Like, what why you wake up like that? Like, I don't know if women look at that and they're like, yo, you wake up like that? you know? It's kind of, it's one of those things in life. It's kind of funny. You go to the bathroom and you have that moment where you're like, all right. And the thing is, like, when you live on your own, fine. But when you're like with a woman or whatever, it's like you consider other things. Like, don't be messing around and try to pee standing up with full wood, because then you end up making a mess, right? Because you like have a tendency to pee in two different directions at the same time, or you don't know what it's gonna come out hard, kind of slanted this way or whatever. So you don't want to make a mess. So personally, what I do is I'll sit down and kind of lean forward and try to pee directly into the bowl to make sure I don't make a mess. Right? I don't know how many other guys can relate to me with that. Where you try to be considerate. You don't want to have the toilet smell like urine because you missed and all of this type of stuff, right? So you try to be clean and thoughtful. Also, like, I'm a germaphobe. I don't like bad smells. I don't like stains. I don't like uncleanliness of any kind. So I'm a generally very clean person. I don't like stains, messes. I don't like stickiness. I don't like when things are sticky. I don't like that. I don't like fingerprints on things, smudges. I don't like things like that. It bothers me. I don't like random water in places where it's not supposed to be. I don't like that. I don't like discoloration. I don't like that. But I like white shirts. So my situation becomes a bit precarious sometimes. Let's see, let me get my position back here. Oh, I heard the microgreens. I don't know about cantaloupe sprouts. Well, I don't. I'm gonna find out. I got two cantaloupes too, so I'm gonna cut into one of them cantaloupes tomorrow. So we're gonna see. Do you still eat 4 days a week? And if you do, can you break down your eating time schedule? I do alternate day fasting once a year for 12 weeks out of the year. I mean, as far as my schedule, typically I eat Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, doing 36-hour fasts, where basically I eat throughout the entire day, having like a 12-hour eating window on all of my eating days. Who did you look up to in the raw vegan fruitarian space? Some of the big names like John Rose, Dr. Robert Morris, Sabi, Arnold, etc. I look up to a lady named Jaqueen, who planted the idea in my head. It was my lady at the time, or well, currently, and she put me onto the whole raw thing. She started doing it. She asked me, "Oh, you think it's a good idea?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why not?" And she started doing it and getting really good results from it. So I wanted to know the science of it and why it worked and all of that. So yeah, I went dive in head first and all that. So yeah, that's my answer there. I didn't know Sabi was raw. I didn't know that. I think he likes a combination of Yaki Awakened and Mike Menser. Yeah, I guess I kind of, yeah, because Yaki talks a lot about chronic illness, which is what I do too. But I think his approach is a bit different than mine. I think he has a way more strict approach than mine. I agree with the spirit of a lot of the things he says, but I don't agree like line for line. So we do kind of deviate a bit. But I have more of like a sports nutritionist, mathematic approach to nutrition, as opposed to he makes like food recommendations and that kind of thing. I'm a little bit more granular with the nutrition. But he's an herbalist. I'm not an herbalist. So he knows a little bit more about that type of stuff than I do. And yes, I'm a fan of the Mike Menser approach. Absolutely. Just the resistance band version. So my approach is a bit different, but the spirit of it is pretty similar. But yeah, Mike Menser had I mean, he had the right idea, that's for sure. All right, appreciate you. Have a good night. Catch you on the next live. Look at that. Everybody heading to bed. That's right. Y'all got the right idea. So you know what? I'm gonna sign off too. I appreciate everybody tuning in. If you want to book a call with me, hit the link in the description. If you want to sign up for coaching or a custom diet plan or join my 12-week mentorship or sign up for my free newsletter, hit the link in the description. And having said that, I will catch y'all on the next Monday Night Live, and you will get a heads up for that on my newsletter or in the Discord for tribe members. Have a good night, y'all. Talk to you soon.